50 years ago, we went to the moon. We called it Apollo.
What many people don't know is that Apollo had a twin.
She was a woman named Artemis,
goddess of the moon.
We are returning to the moon
as a new generation of explorers.
This time to stay.
And to prepare to achieve humanity's next giant leap of sending the first human missions to Mars.
We believe our course will redefine what is possible.
That we would discover life-saving,
earth-changing science.
And that the challenges ahead will inspire generations.
This is our manifest.
For all who wondered if we could return.
For all who dreamed of pressing beyond.
This is your calling.
We go for all of America.
We go.
We go as the Artemis generation.
We go.
What an inspiring video. We are going, and we need your help to get there. Good afternoon to all of you joining us from across the country and around the world, and welcome to the virtual career fair here with NASA. I'm April Phillips at NASA Langley Research Center, and I'll be your host for the next hour. We have a lot of information for you about internships, the Pathways program, and how to get your resumes ready to apply. We're going to take your questions as well, and I know you have a lot of them. So for this first segment, we'll ask you to head over to go.nasa.gov/2 capital J, lowercase c, 9, capital P, capital W to submit your questions. Now, I know that is a lot to remember, so we're going to keep that address on the screen for a while for you. When you get over to that address, if you see someone has already submitted your question, then go ahead and vote for it. Also vote for any questions you find interesting, because we're probably not going to get to all of them, but we will answer the questions who get the most votes first. So go ahead and start submitting those questions. Right now, we're going to talk about the internship program. And here in the studio with me, I have Raquel Marshall from Goddard Space Flight Center, and I have Jasmine Hopkins, who is a current NASA intern, so it's going to be interesting to hear from her. But we are going to start first with Raquel Marshall. And thank you, first of all, from driving down from Goddard. We really appreciate that.
You are very welcome.
And I know that you have a lot of information about internships, and I think a lot of people want to hear it. So can you get us started with that?
Absolutely. Thank you so much, April, and welcome everyone to today's webinar. Again, my name is Raquel Marshall, and I'm an internship program lead. The NASA internship program provides authentic opportunities for students and educators. Any student who is matriculating in an education institution, that is high school, community college, undergraduate school, or graduate school, is eligible to apply to NASA work project-related experiences. These are transdisciplinary learning experiences because during a NASA internship, our interns integrate real-world work experiences with multiple learning opportunities to contribute to NASA's missions. You must be a U.S. citizen to apply to the NASA internship program. For international students, we do offer an international program, which you can find more information about at intern.nasa.gov. Applicants must be at least 16 years of age at time of application. Applicants must have a cumulative GPA of 3.0 on a 4.0 scale at time of application. We offer 3 internship program sessions: fall, spring, and summer. Now is the time to apply for the summer 2020 internship program at intern.nasa.gov. Next slide, please. NASA has 10 centers and other facilities across the United States that offer internship opportunities. I'm actually now at the Langley Research Center, which is located in Hampton, Virginia. The Goddard Space Flight Center is an example of a center that includes 4 facilities that offer internships. The Goddard Center in Maryland, the Goddard Institute of Space Studies in New York, the Katherine Johnson Independent Verification and Validation Facility in West Virginia, and the Wallops Flight Facility in Wallops Island, Virginia. Applicants may apply to up to 15 projects per session from across all NASA centers and facilities. I recommend that you visit nasa.gov to research the different types of NASA mission focus areas per center. Next slide, please. Many times students ask me, so what types of disciplines is NASA interested in? I usually respond, so what is your discipline? Whatever the response is, I answer yes, we have opportunities for you. NASA workforce comprises of multiple disciplines, such as the STEM disciplines, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, computer science, cybersecurity, project management, business, mission support areas such as facilities management and security, and much, much more. I recommend that you visit our website at intern.nasa.gov and search by discipline for the different types of internship projects we offer. April, thank you for the opportunity to share an overview of our NASA internship program.
Thank you.
And I look forward to answering any questions that the participants may have.
Absolutely. We've already got a bunch of questions coming in, but we're going to hold off on that for just a few minutes because I know we have a little more internship information, and we are going to head over to Johnson Space Center and talk to Rhiannon Gable, who is out there. Rhiannon, can you hear us?
Hi, yes,
Hi,
I
Rhiannon.
can hear you.
Hi, how is the weather
How
out
are
in Houston
you?
today?
Oh, it's beautiful.
Fantastic. I hear it often is beautiful and very hot. So hopefully you're getting a little bit of a respite from that. However, we're here to talk about internships, not the weather. So what can you tell us?
All right. Well, what I want to do, as Raquel mentioned, our website information is intern.nasa.gov. And so what I want to actually do is dive a little bit into our website and give you a little bit of information that can help make your application stand out. So up here on the screen, you should be able to see this is our homepage. And before you even apply, you can actually view all of our projects and opportunities that we have across the center. And you do so by clicking on the link that says opportunities and projects where that red arrow is pointing. So if you go to the next slide, once you click on that link, it will bring you to a screen that looks like this. And this screen will list all of our internships that we have available across all of our NASA centers. From here, you can actually search or reduce your search fields, I guess I should say. You can limit it to the specific session that you're interested in. So if you know that you would like a summer 2020 internship, you can sort the search results that way. You can also sort it by location. So if you know that you're interested in a specific center, you can look at their internship opportunities. And then you can also search by keyword. The one thing that I always tell students about the keyword search is that just to know that whatever you enter in there will only search the project titles. So for example, if you are interested in 3D printing and you typed in 3D printing in that search box, it's only going to bring up projects that say 3D printing in the project title. But you might be missing a lot of other opportunities that have 3D printing somewhere else in the project description. So I really encourage students to spend some time going through our opportunities and find those projects that are of interest to you specifically. If you'll jump to the next slide, once you click into an internship opportunity, it'll bring up all the basic information about that project. So it'll start with the session, the location of that internship, and then it'll go into a good description of what that project is about and some of the tasks that you might be expected to complete as an intern with NASA. On the next slide, when you continue looking at the project information, it then also lists your computer skills, technical skills, and then any other skills that might be expected of you for this specific project. So I encourage students as they're going through the projects to jot down those projects that are really of interest to them, and then also jot down some of the skills that we're looking for that project. That will actually help you when you go to create your application, which I'll speak to in just a minute. The last two things I want to highlight on this screen are the academic level and the majors that are listed for each project. If you don't see your academic level or major listed for that project, that doesn't necessarily mean that you're not eligible for that specific project. That's just there to give students an idea of the type of students that we typically fill this position with. But it's best to look at the project description and also those skill sets. And if you are interested in the project and you believe you have the skill sets to successfully complete that project, I 100% encourage you to go ahead and apply for that project. So if you jump to the next slide, after you've had an opportunity to go through and look at our projects, you can go back to our homepage, and right there on the front, it says click here to apply. Once you click into that button, you'll begin to complete your internship application. And so a couple areas that I want to highlight in the application itself, if you go to the next slide, we'll actually circle back to your skill sets. So you've had the opportunity now to look at some of the projects, you know some of the skill sets that we're looking for. So in your application itself, you actually have the opportunity to tell us what computer skills you have, what technical skills you have, and any other specific skills that you could bring to the internship. And what we're looking for here is detailed responses. I tell students you can't really give us too much information in this section. We want to know, are you a beginner? Are you an expert in programming languages? What specific specialized tools maybe do you have experience with? What type of teamwork experience have you been exposed to? And that type of stuff. And then there on the bottom of the screen, there's a tip that says, don't forget to include your keywords. And I can actually speak to that best by an example. So if you'll go to the next chart, this will be an example of what we're actually looking for on your application. So here you can see that the student has told us their experience level. What are they proficient in? What do they have experience in? What have they just been exposed to? Our mentors aren't necessarily looking or expecting students to be expert level programmers. That's part of your learning experience with an internship. But it is good for the mentors to know what languages, maybe programming languages you've been exposed to, so that when they're selecting students for their project, they have a good snapshot of who you are. So after you've completed the detailed information, then there at the bottom where the red arrow is pointing, we want you to go ahead and pull down keywords from that description. So here in this example, we have things like HTML, Python, programming. Those are really important to include because just like you can go in and you can search our projects by keywords, we're actually able to search applicants by keywords as well. So if we have a mentor, for example, who wants a student with Python experience and we type in Python, we want to make sure that your application shows up in that search result. So those are the couple of pieces of information that I wanted to share with you about our application process. If you go to our website, which is intern.nasa.gov, there is a lot of other information, frequently asked questions, more program information, and then also some additional information that can help your application stand out. That is all the information that I have today for you from Johnson Space Center, and so I'm going to throw it back to you, April.
Thanks, Rihanna, and you answered a lot of questions that I saw in the live chat earlier, so thank you very much. Right now, we also have a current intern here, and that is Jasmine Hopkins. And I know that a lot of you probably would like to hear about the experience you'll have if you become a NASA intern. So Jasmine, can you tell us a little bit about that?
Absolutely. Thank you so much, April. I'm happy to be here today. Hello to all of you guys watching. My name is Jasmine Hopkins, and I am a communications and marketing intern for the Fabrication Technology Development Branch here at NASA Langley Research Center. So my branch is responsible for the manufacturing of different flight test articles that we are able to study here. And the research that we conduct supports NASA's missions on a center-wide and agency-wide level. So part of my responsibility in my branch is to help be a technical communicator. So what that means is I work with the engineers and technicians, and I help them document their projects from beginning to end, kind of creating a storyline of their project. Another part of that job for me is becoming the branch's personal photographer. That means that I take progression photos of their projects from beginning to end to help them document it and see the progress that they've made and the milestones that they are reaching. To make sure that all of this information is kept safe, I actually created and I maintain a database of all this information over the different milestones that they're reaching. And that way, people can look through the past projects and they can use it for present and future things that they are working on. If I had any advice to you guys that are looking to intern at NASA, I think it would definitely be to branch out and try different things, really diversify your skill set. So in my branch, I've been able to do a lot of different projects and things, but I've actually had the opportunity to support things outside of my branch as well. I've worked with the Office of the Director on different things, and I've also been able to volunteer for different events that we have here on center. And in that, I've been able to network and communicate with a lot of my different coworkers and people that I would not have met otherwise. And I would definitely say, if you're making connections, keep them going and maintain them, because you never know where they could take you in the future.
That is awesome, Jasmine. And it's so great to hear that you're doing real meaningful work.
Thank you.
So that is so cool. All right, we're going to be able to get to a few of your questions. Also, make sure you're looking on the site, because we have a moderator who is answering questions in real time. So we're only going to be able to get to a few in this segment, but you will see some answers to your questions if you go online. But the number one question that we received by far: what kinds of prior experience is helpful in preparation for a NASA internship?
That is a really good question, April. Very good. So besides having other internship opportunities, I would recommend that you look for opportunities at your home school. So many times you lead projects with your home school. With your home school. Many times you work with volunteer organizations where you lead in projects. Look for opportunities to demonstrate your technical skills and competency. And then, as we've heard from Rhiannon, make sure you share how those competencies and how you develop those competencies at your home school in your application.
Okay, here's another one. What full-time opportunities do you have for recent college graduates with bachelor's degrees?
So NASA posts all of their recent opportunities actually at usajobs.com. So if you go to usajobs.com, you can view all the open opportunities that are there for undergraduate or recent graduates, as well as for early career participants as well.
Okay, we will take one more, and then, but keep looking online for responses to more questions. But I think a lot of people have this question as well. I've applied for spring 2020 internships. When might I start hearing back?
Typically for spring 2020 internships, we've already started to submit opportunities and actually place students in those opportunities at this time. You probably will hear something back by the end of November or mid-December. But feel free to contact the email or submit an email to our email address and ask questions about the opportunities that you are interested in. You can also look online in your portfolio and see if those projects have already been closed or filled to check the status of the projects.
That's great information. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
So we're going to have to wrap up the questions for now. We will have more questions in our next segment. But right now, we're going to hear from an intern who has already completed the internship and hear about those experiences.
I always loved NASA and aerospace, and I was in high school when they announced that the shuttle program was being canceled. So seeing that, it made me back out of that dream, and I went through this whole journey where I went through a pre-med track, graduated with a biochem degree, went to med school, and then I was in med school for a year, but the whole time I was not happy. My dad was really supportive, and he always told me, hey, you have to do what you love. So at the end of my first year, I decided to drop out of medical school. I jumped around from a couple pharmaceutical jobs and then started working nights, and I had the time to think. And every night I would look at things that NASA was doing. When I enrolled at Clemson, I found a mentor who was doing a few NASA-related projects, and he pointed me to the South Carolina Space Grant. And then over the next year, as I was applying for my second fellowship, I also applied for a NASA internship. I worked on soft robots, and we were trying to teach them to network together and form structures on the moon. My work was challenging. It was very interesting. I felt a lot of times like I was playing. There's a whole professional development side to the NIPS program that I feel is incredibly helpful, just because it's about the whole package. I got this internship because I worked with a student who worked on it last semester, and I was able to come here and do a different project with a different scope. And hopefully I can continue to do that and come back next summer or the summer afterwards and eventually roll it into a career. There's going to be a second renaissance in human space travel, and I want to be on that rocket.
Welcome back. And now we're going back to Johnson Space Center to learn about the Pathways program with Jonathan Avery, the program manager. The web address for your questions during this segment is go.nasa.gov/2 lowercase m, lowercase v, capital J, lowercase t, capital R, lowercase a. Again, that's a lot, so we're going to keep it on the screen for a while. Jonathan, how's it going?
I'm good. Thank you so much, April.
Awesome. So what do you got for us on Pathways?
Yes, so the Pathways Intern Program, it's a little bit different from other types of NASA internships. I guess regardless of whether you're in a internship through the Office of STEM Engagement, through some of the internships that Rhiannon was talking about a little bit earlier, or if you're in a Pathways intern, the idea is that you're still doing some really awesome, meaningful work. So you're going to be given some challenging projects. You're going to be given a mentor to support you all the way through it, and hopefully have a really great outcome at the end. However, there are some differences between the Pathways intern programs across NASA and other types of NASA internships. So the Pathways intern program is our flagship program aimed at students, but there are two additional programs, one for recent graduates, and I saw the question a little bit earlier and can answer that a little bit in more detail. And then the next one is our Presidential Management Fellows program. So with any kind of Pathways program, it is different in that you are given a chance for a full-time hiring opportunity at the completion of the program. So in comparison to the other NASA internships that were discussed, for Pathways internships, if you are looking to start a career with NASA, this would be a great way to kind of get that off the ground. The other thing about Pathways, programs is that you are a federal employee. So any kinds of employee benefits, like think like life insurance, health insurance, dental, vision, retirement plans, promotions, annual leave, like vacation time, retirement plans, sick leave, all of those things you will have access to as a Pathways employee. So that is also kind of another major difference between the Pathways programs and other NASA internship programs. So I'll talk a little bit about the different programs within the Pathways umbrella. The first one is our flagship, that's the intern program. This is open to all current students, and you can take a look on our website. Our website is nasa.gov/careers/pathways program, and there you can see all the requirements for every specific position that might be out there. One of the things that was talked about was that USA Jobs is our primary, it's kind of our exclusive place that we use to post public notice for the positions that are available. So any Pathways program opportunity will be posted on USA Jobs so that you can have access to see what positions are open. Now, on the intern program, there are requirements that are similar to the NASA internships, but each center across the country for NASA has different requirements on how they've structured their programs. So there are points of contact for each NASA center regarding the Pathways Intern program that you can get in contact with to see if there are specific requirements for that center. So for example, some NASA centers require that you rotate to multiple functional organizations throughout your experience as a Pathways intern. Other centers require you to work multiple points in time throughout multiple semesters through the duration of your appointment at NASA. So it kind of just depends on the center, it depends on the position, but you will have to kind of look at every position specifically to determine what you will be eligible for. The next program is the Pathways Recent Graduate Program. This is a program that's open to individuals who have graduated within the past 2 years. If you do have prior military service, it's for folks who have graduated within the past 6 years. But it's a smaller program, but still kind of aimed at that same idea of providing a really great experiential opportunity for you in building your growth and development in a technical arena. So those positions are also posted on usajobs.gov. What you can do now is go into usajobs.gov, set up a profile, and in your profile you can actually set up an alert that will notify you whenever specific positions become available. So I would highly encourage you to do that. You can do that right now. You can also build your resume in the USA Jobs system. We'll have some more information on some best practices there here in a little bit, but that's a really great way for you to kind of get a head start on having a resume in the system so that whenever opportunities do come up, you jump on those and you submit your application as quick as you can. The timelines for posting and applying to applications kind of vary from one NASA center to the next. We typically will follow the same types of recruiting schedules that other companies will follow. So we have a really heavy fall semester schedule where we do a lot of recruiting then, and then the same thing in the springtime. I think that's kind of the big stuff that I want to hit on. When I'm thinking about what kind of students is NASA looking for? What I really look for in a student is, we're looking for people that are going to get us to the moon, that are going to get us beyond, right? And so we need people who excel in team-oriented environments. We need those people that are going to push boundaries, those people that are resilient, those people that are curious, those people that are going to really get us to where we're going. And so I think that as you ask yourself, okay, how do I build this resume so that I can show NASA that that's who I am? One of the things that I recommend to everybody is it's a pretty simple way to structure both your resume and your interview responses, and that's utilizing the CAR method. Some people say CAR, some people say STAR method. The CAR method, if you go with the acronym, it's C stands for challenge, A is action, and R is result. So in your resume, what I'm looking for is for you to share with me what challenge did you encounter in a certain situation. And then the action is what action did you take? And then the result is what accomplishments came out as a result of it. And so if you can put that in your resume, that will definitely give you an opportunity to showcase your skills, your abilities, and your potential in our space here at NASA. So another thing I will say is that if for whatever reason you don't get selected, because we are going through thousands of resumes every single year, like for example, this past fall semester here locally at Johnson Space Center, I had over 3,000 applications come through for our Pathways intern program, and we conducted about 150 interviews and selected about 40 folks. And so it is highly competitive, but it is something that everybody has a shot at. It's not something that's reserved for people with experience by no means. We have a lot of folks that are coming into our program that only have 30 semester hours worth of their university classes under their belt, and still excel here because we have such support that we give to the students throughout their experience. So that's something to kind of keep in mind. This is really open to everybody, and everybody does have a shot at helping this opportunity for them become a reality. So I've heard so many stories of some students who, whenever they were not accepted the first time, like one person actually framed a rejection letter and put it on his bedside table and used that as some of the reason why, or some of the motivation for him to do better in his classes, get involved in some extracurriculars, and have another application in the future that was more enhanced, that could really showcase who he was and what he had to offer. So highly encourage you all to continue moving that direction. If for whatever reason you don't get in the first time, just keep on applying and keep on building yourself up and sharing that with us, because that's going to be your best chance of continuing and supporting us as hopefully a student intern or recent graduate. Now, the last program under the Pathways umbrella is the Presidential Management Fellows Program. This is a program that's managed through the Office of Personnel Management. So OPM is the agency that they require you to submit an application to them, and they do an assessment process that and would select you as a finalist in their PMF pool. As a finalist, a PMF finalist can be appointed to any federal agency, and so what we could do is appoint you to NASA if you were selected as a finalist with the PMF program through OPM. It's a small population of our Pathways student program, so but it also still is an option. So I would highly encourage you to take a look at that if that aligns with your academic or career interests. But that's really all that I had from a Pathways perspective. I know here in a little bit, we're going to talk a little bit more in detail about the USA Jobs resume and how it is more of like a narrative format system. So, you're definitely able to write more of a story in there. So I'm not going to go too much into detail there since we will be hitting that a little bit later. But I'll kind of kick it back over to you, April, if there are any additional questions that come to us later on throughout this segment.
Awesome. Thank you, Jonathan. That was a lot of great information. And I have a feeling a lot of people watching are going to be very interested in the Pathways program. Right now, I have a couple of folks who have been with Pathways. In the studio with me, I have a current Pathways student, Samantha Applin. And I also have a converted Pathways former student who is now a full-time employee, Tim Intinarelli. Yeah. We're going to start with you, Samantha. So if you could tell us about some of your experiences as a Pathways student here.
Thank you, April. Yes, I'm a current Pathways student in the remote sensing group out here, and I work on scientific instruments that will travel to the moon and to Mars. I started in October of 2017, and I'm pursuing my doctorate in material science and engineering. So I actually did apply for Pathways previously and didn't get it, but I have been encouraged to apply again. And I did get it. And so the experience has been great so far. I've been able to work on things from advanced materials to some of the wind tunnel work, as well as this remote sensing work. But I strongly recommend, continuing to apply if you don't get it that first time.
That sounds great. Okay, so Tim, you have actually achieved the goal. You've done what everyone wants to do, and you have converted from a Pathways student to a regular employee. Yes. So why don't you go ahead and tell us what you do here at NASA and how that all happened for you?
So I came in 2018 as a security specialist for the Pathways internship program. Mm-hmm. And going through with my program, it was really unique because my primary background was mostly law enforcement and physical security. But going in, the program itself, you kind of rotate through all the security disciplines that are exercised here on center. So like information security, personnel security, things of that nature. Stuff that I never really had touched base on in my law enforcement career or anything else. So that to me was that to me was an experience altogether because and what helps you kind of along your path is because by rotating through them, you're not just becoming, a specialist within like one specific security field. You get a general overview, and then it kind of helps you guide your guide you along the way with your path to kind of picking up what your niche is and what you're going to do. And another unique aspect was that I also got to work along NASA Protective Services federal agents as well too. And you really get to experience the law enforcement side of what NASA has to offer. A lot of people don't really know that NASA does have a federal service as well.
Right.
So in that aspect, it was really cool. And it kind of made me felt a little bit more at home with my law enforcement background. So, and everything guided me towards my conversion. I knocked out my degree within a year in cybersecurity. So I was kind of on the fast track and determined to get through. But like Samantha as well, I actually had a rejection letter the first time, and I applied again, and I stuck to my guns, and I was fortunate enough to get it. So
yes. Importance of sticking with it.
Yep, absolutely.
Great. Well, thank you for sharing your experiences. And now we have time for questions for just a few. But we have, if you look on the site, you've seen a bunch of your questions have already been answered. Jonathan, heads up, we're going to have a couple questions for you. So get ready to answer out there at Johnson Space Center. One question is, what full-time opportunities do you have for recent college graduates with bachelor's degrees?
Sure. Yeah. So our recent graduate program is kind of where I'm thinking that might be the best focused in on. Recent graduate positions are posted periodically throughout the year. What you could do is set up that alert that will notify you on USA Jobs whenever those kinds of positions become available. They do get sprinkled in throughout the year, so it's something that you would you have to kind of keep an eye out on USA Jobs to see what's going to make the most sense for you. It could be bachelor's, it could be master's, it could be PhD, as long as you have graduated within the past 2 years with that degree. Each position is going to be unique in its requirements. So some positions may require the bachelor's, others may require a master's or higher. But all of those are kind of live all the time out there on USA Jobs. So if you do a quick search out there, you'll see what's out there currently, and then setting up that alert will notify you whenever similar kinds of positions come up in the future.
Okay. Here's one I'm not sure if you'll be able to answer. It seems to be for internship programs, but maybe it applies to pathways as well. But here's the question. I'm a PhD student in chemical engineering at Tulane. Is there any kind of opportunities for grad students who can't dedicate their time on internships? So could Pathways be a better program for that?
So I think both types of opportunities will require you to come down to the specific NASA center to work in support of the position or the project. So you would have to take some time away from school in order to work in that capacity here at NASA. We try to be as flexible as we can because we know, especially at the graduate student level, a lot of you are kind of owned by your academic advisors, and it's sometimes tough to kind of get away and support something besides what you've been working on at your university. And so what we do is we try to be as flexible as possible by only requiring certain minimums around how much time you would have to spend at NASA. So typically our graduate students are coming in the summertime to support us in various ways, both as Pathways and through other NASA internships. So I don't know if that answers the question, but that's where my mind is going right now.
Okay, thanks, Jonathan. I know we didn't get a lot of your questions during this segment, but the moderators are hard at work answering them online, so please keep checking for that. But right now we're going to end this segment and wrap it up with another story from one of our former interns.
My name is Jessica Robinson, and I come from Ohio University in little old Athens, Ohio. I have been working on Safeguard, as well as a variety of other projects that involve the safety and more accurate navigation of drones. My personal experience is that the public is not comfortable with where drones are, and that the FAA isn't comfortable with where drones are in their current state. Where my particular interest has been in that is how I can integrate virtual or augmented reality applications to connect the public or connect the FAA or any kind of person who might be using a drone that might help us create a safety connection. That's kind of where my work as both a media arts student and a games and animation student, as well as being an engineer, combines. Something that I've learned about the internship project is that it's not just about one project. It's about integrating work from all over NASA. I've had the opportunity to work not only on Safeguard, but work in the Autonomy Incubator Lab, work with a team called the Engineering Design Studio, the Sherpas, the Makerspace. I have all the emails written down of everybody that I've worked with this summer to stay connected with them through Virginia Tech, and I'm already aiming for that Pathways position. NASA finally gave me a home for my ideas. It was the first place that I felt like I belonged, and the first place that I felt that my crazy ideas weren't so crazy.
All right, welcome back. And now we have a segment that you're all going to be very interested in because it's very important. We know you want to be able to put together a resume that is successful. And the resumes that go to USA Jobs are a lot different than what you've probably seen before. But we have LaTarsha Weidman here in the studio, and she is going to help coach you through that difficult process. While she's talking, make sure to submit your questions for this segment at go.nasa.gov/32, capital U, lowercase k, capital K, lowercase y, capital A. So we're going to leave that site up again for quite a while. So I'll give you some time to get over there and ask your questions. But while you're doing that, LaTarsha, what do you got for them?
Thanks, April. As Langley's current Pathways Program Manager and former staffing lead, I've had the opportunity for hundreds, if not thousands, of resumes to selecting officials. And with that, I'd like to give our audience some tips on resume writing for the federal government, as well as a quick understanding of the vacancy announcement. The first slide. A federal resume, as April stated, is very different from a private sector resume. No cover letter is needed for the resume, and we prefer a narrative format instead of the traditional bullet format. Resumes should be tailored to the position in which you are applying. USA Jobs allows us to store resumes up to 5 separate resumes based on positions applying for. Federal resumes may include several pages and not just one page like a traditional resume. Some agencies require an applicant to answer job-related questions on USA Jobs. Remember, on your resume, this is the only documentation we have that represents you as the applicant, so please be as thorough as possible. Next slide, please. We're talking quickly about the vacancy announcement. The grade on the positions include the level and experience needed to fill the position. Every entry-level position is at the GS 7 or 9 level. Intern positions are typically at the GS 3 through the GS 11 level, depending on the education. The education at a GS 3 is a freshman in college. The GS 11 level is a second-year PhD student. Our journeyman levels are GS 13, and our senior positions are at the 14 and 15 levels. The area consideration on a vacancy announcement includes where we're hiring from. So if you are not prior military or not a current or former federal employee, please apply under a U.S. citizen announcement or as a current student. Duty section of the vacancy announcement explains the responsibilities of the job at the highest grade level. So if you see a job that's announced at the GS 7, 9, or 11 level, the duties explained will be at the GS 11 level, advertised. Education section lists the basic requirements for consideration of the position. And if it has a positive education requirement, please be sure that your education meets that requirement. Next slide, please. General experience in the vacancy announcement lists the experience needed based on federal regulations. The specialized experience lists the requirements at each grade level. So again, if a position is advertised at a 7, 9, 11 level, the duties are explained at the 11 level, but please make sure that you list your specialized experience at each of the grade levels, and you will see that through the specialized experience. The KSAs on a vacancy announcement is the knowledge, skills, and ability. That knowledge, skills, and ability needs to be included in your resume. Next slide, please. For your resume to be referred to a manager, it must reflect the KSAs, the knowledge, skills, and abilities, and meet the basic education requirements. It must also reflect at least 1 year of the specialized experience or the education. So please be clear in your resume. Next slide, please. Your resume will be assessed by using a category rating. That's federal-wide, using category rating to evaluate your resume. And each resume will be established in a 70, 80, or 90-point category rating based on your competencies. So please be clear in your resume and make sure that you tailor your resume based on the specialized experience. Next slide, please. Consider what you're worth. Based on the vacancy announcement, it displays the grades at the range of the position. If it's a GS7, it will state the range or the grade based on the GS7 step 1 through the GS7 step 10. However, all job announcements or job offers are made at the step 1. Anything beyond the step 1 has to be approved by our center director or a designee. If you indicate on the lowest grade your accept is and you do not qualify, you will not be referred to the selecting official based on a higher grade. So please be clear based on your specialized experience. Next slide, please. Most training positions typically do not require specialized experience, however, it's based on your education. However, in any case, please highlight your skills, your experience that match the advertised job, and make sure you use verbs, action words to be included in your resume, your accomplishments, and the results. Next slide. Remember to do this. List your accomplishments, spell out your acronyms, tailor your resume for the work that's being advertised, be honest, include your references, spell and grammar check, and be sure to your contact information is correct and you provide your documentation that's requested.
Thank you. And I bet you're not surprised to know that we have several questions.
I'm sure, yes.
Okay. So as someone who has several times been in the USA Jobs network or the system, I know that it can be a little bit challenging. And so we've had a few questions about that, including one asking for help with that. So what are the constraints, best practices, and maybe no-nos of applying for opportunities on USA Jobs? For example, can you upload a resume rather than build it on the site? And I know that's tricky.
Yes, it is. Yeah, and again, you can upload a resume to USA Jobs. However, it doesn't necessarily meet the criteria. We would prefer narrative format and not bullet format. Again, not limiting you to one page where USA Jobs, or if you upload a resume, typically is one page. We've had resumes 7 pages long, but as long as it meets the standards that it's required in the vacancy announcement. So yes, you're able to do that. But again, I would suggest that you tailor the resume, and you can include up to 5 separate resumes based on the positions you're applying for.
Interesting. So what kinds of experience besides science-related experience is helpful in applying?
Well, it just doesn't mean science. We do have administrative professional positions here. Again, I'm a human resources specialist. We have finance, we have information systems, we have security, as in one of our examples earlier.
I had a historian once.
Yes, a historian. Yeah. Again, engineering, science, mathematics. NASA is full of experiences as far as not just engineering and STEM, but also administrative professionals.
Okay. So what if you don't have a lot of volunteer experience in undergraduate education? Or I'm sorry, what if you don't have much other than volunteer experience in undergraduate education, meaning no research experience? Is that going to be a problem?
Yeah, again, typically our student going into pathways, we're not looking at work experience or the specialized experience. We're looking at the education. So you can qualify at the lower grade as a GS3 just purely based on being a freshman with the proper GPA of a 2.9 above, as Jonathan stated earlier. So as long as you're a successful student and you represent as far as your GPA and the degrees that we're looking for, the work experience will come.
Okay. Here's an interesting question. So is there a way to have your resume look better than maybe it would on the surface value? And there's a specific example here. So this person has 15 years in the customer service field. So how can he or she highlight their passion for space and science in a way that comes through?
Again, you need to look at the specialized experience that's listed in the vacancy announcement. That's beyond the duties, that's beyond the education. The specialized experience will tell you exactly what skills that you need to have listed in that resume. So if a strong communication skill and they're in customer service, then they need to bring out the customer service part of their resume to show that they meet that qualification.
Right. There are always lots of skills in jobs that will apply.
That will apply. And it's, like I said, it's listed in the specialized experience area of the vacancy.
Okay. I think we've got some West Coasters who would like to know if there are any internships based out there. I guess the NASA centers that are out there.
Yes. We have 2 NASA centers out there. And as Jonathan stated, if you go to our USA Jobs, if you look at the recent, the student programs, it will tell you all of and if you type in NASA, it will actually tell you all of the student programs that are offered at all of the centers.
Okay. So what about the job posting statuses? Are they updated often to inform those applying what stage of the hiring process they're at? I know USA Jobs
and they do. I realize that applicants don't realize the time frame. So when we issue a vacancy announcement, we really have, from the time that we issue it, we have a 30-day time frame that we issue, but we have 90 days that we issue to the manager. So I know for an applicant that's looking, it may not be as quick as they'd like, but we do have a long process. We have thousands of people applying for positions for any individual position. So managers, we have a lot to go through, and then we refer them, and they have up to 90 days to make selections, and we kind of move from there.
So it does seem like a long time, for the applicants, but the wheels are turning.
Yes, absolutely. And again, like you said, USA Jobs is updated based on our systems, and we ask that the applicants, because we do have so many, kind of use USA Jobs as their status.
Can you start a resume profile to familiarize yourself with USA Jobs before you're ready to apply to a job? I believe you can.
Yeah, absolutely. You have to submit it. So it'll ask you, are you ready to submit this resume for consideration? So, you can have it built and never apply for a position.
Right. So start working on it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Can a non-U.S. citizen apply for an internship?
No. Right now, they're open to all U.S. citizens.
Okay. Let's see. Do we have any others? So I don't know that we know the answer to that, but people are asking if the slides for this section will be made available.
And I guess I don't have a problem with them being submitted to make available. That's
okay.
Fine.
So there's a process we have to do to make that happen, but we will get on that and see what we can do for that. So that is about all the questions we have time for right now. But I did just want to say that NASA is a great place to work. It really is. And we need all kinds of people with all sorts of talents to help us keep getting better and better. So we do hope to see you working at a NASA center in the near future. And we're going to finish up today with a message from Janet Sellers from NASA headquarters. But after that, stay tuned at the end of the broadcast for all of the websites, because a lot of those have been covered today, and you may not have had a chance to write them down. So at the end of the broadcast, we're going to post all of those websites so that you have an opportunity to visit them and get more information. And I hope you have a great rest of the day, and thank you so much for watching.
Hi, everyone. My name is Janet Sellers. I am the Director of Diversity and Data Analytics at NASA headquarters, and I'm so glad to be chatting with you today. I know that you've had an opportunity to meet all kinds of people, learn about the hiring process, intern programs, and other ways that you can get to work at NASA. One of the things I want to let you know is that NASA, first and foremost, is for everybody. While we're reaching for new heights to reveal the unknown for the benefit of humankind, we want you to know right here on Earth that NASA is available to you. As you know, we're a STEM agency. And so, of course, we're going to need scientists and engineers, but we also need other types of employees to keep this train running at NASA. And that means we hire all kinds of people. We hire people with disabilities, we hire veterans, we hire people who are accountants, social media professionals, we hire everything. We need botanists so that we can grow food in space. We need human resources personnel. We need technicians. We need all sorts of people to make NASA the best that it absolutely can be. The one thing I also want you to know is that while we look for the best and the brightest, we also look for those with promise and potential. That doesn't mean we lower our standards. It just means we shift our perspective. We want you to bring your authentic self to work. You'd be surprised at what you're already prepared for. When you're balancing work and school and family, you have the makings of a project manager. And I'm telling you, project management and project execution skills are skills that are absolutely valuable here at NASA. They don't necessarily have to do with science or technology, but managing projects, getting things done on time and under budget. If you have that skill already, we want you here at NASA. One of the things I like about working for NASA is that I've gotten a chance to work with people from all different cultures and backgrounds. I've worked with people from China. I've worked with people from India. I've worked with people right here in the United States. And that is the beauty of working in a place like NASA. We have room for everybody. We want diversity of cultures. We want diversity of race, gender, sexual orientation. We want it all. And that's why we need you. Thanks for joining us today and good luck in your future endeavors.